Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Friday, November 29th, 2019. Just a heads up, the hotline phone, I did not charge it, and I didn't realize that it was dead until about just 2 minutes ago. So it is charging right now. I'm sure in 15 minutes it'll have enough of a charge to run the show, but for the first 15 minutes there won't be a phone, so just a heads up on that. And hockey games, a bunch of them are about to start today. I put out the notes last night. I finished updating the hockey notes this morning. A lot of the NBA information is there right now, but we're going to have to do a lot of live decoding for the NBA. We're probably have an hour of live decoding on NBA, but just real quick, I want to scan the hockey games. Rangers and Bruins is already underway. The Maple Leafs and Sabres is about to jump off. I'm going to leave this game alone because there's not a lot here to go off of. If the Sabres did win, they'd be 7-3-3 at home in the KeyBank Center 73, but I don't have a whole lot of faith in the Sabres right now. Keep in mind there are 12 games in the NHL today, and I've noticed that the total game count does seem to be reflective of what happens in a lot of the games. So something to keep an eye on in this game is if the Sabres do win, notice they'd have 12 wins and they'd keep the Maple Leafs on 12 wins. Personally, I don't want to mess with that game, though. The Maple Leafs are playing well. The Sabres aren't. Not a whole lot there to go off of that I see. The Red Wings and Flyers game. Flyers are huge favorites at home. If they do win, they will be 8-5 at home. We've already seen a lot of 85 riddles with the Flyers this year. Flyers equals 85, so that is the most likely outcome. If the Flyers did get upset, they might very well lose their next two home games to fall to 7-7 at home because Flyers is also 77. But I do suspect they get to 8-5 today. Philadelphia 61, the 18th prime. Red Wings get the 18th loss in regulation. And realize these games start in minutes. They all start at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 Eastern. A lot of early starts today. Avalanche and Blackhawks. Chicago in 77 does play. It played the other day when we mentioned it. If Colorado lost today, they would be 7-7 away. Chicago's divided into 77 neighborhood areas. The Avalanche's riddle to win would be to get the 17th away points on the 59 date numerology, 59 the 17th prime. If the Avalanche did lose, they would be 14-9-2, like 149 the 35th prime, Chicago 35. The Senators and Wild. The Senators are pretty big underdogs. They look like a decent value pick today. Yesterday we talked about how if you were going to mess with the hockey game yesterday, New Jersey had the better value. They had as good of a riddle as Montreal was at home. New Jersey did win that game. I kind of feel the same way about this Senators game here. Not a one-way street. The Wild could get to 6-3 at home on Friday. Friday 63. Or Ottawa could win and become 5-9 away. Minnesota Wild 59. Plus we got the 59 date numerology. And I don't even think I wrote that, but we do. So Ottawa could get to 5-9 away. They would be a nice upset today. That game starts in minutes. The Jets and Ducks. If the Ducks lose, they'll be 7-7 at home. Ducks is 77. If the Jets won to defeat the Ducks, they'd get their 16th win. Ducks play in the Honda Center. Honda Center 53, the 16th prime. Kings and Sharks. Not a whole lot to go off of in this one. If the Sharks did win, they'd get their 18th points at home. Los Angeles Kings is 61, the 18th prime. Kings could fall to 2-9-1 away on the 29th of the month. San Jose could get the 29th points on the 29th of the month. The Lightning and Capitals game. Capitals are just slight favorites at home, which is curious. If the Lightning did win, they would be 7-6 away. Washington Capitals is 76. I believe it was the Rangers we just saw do this to the Capitals with their home record. You know, the Capitals recently got upset by an underdog, and it was a 76 riddle, so Lightning can become 7-6 away. If the Capitals lost, they would be 7-7 at home, 77 in D.C. It shows up a lot. On the 77th meridian is Washington, D.C. The Coyotes and Golden Knights. Golden Knights have played a little bit better in recent days. If they won today, they'd get their 30th points. Coyotes is 30. And if the Coyotes lost, they would be 8-6 away. Las Vegas is 86. And if Vegas won, they'd be 7-5-3 at home. Coyotes is 75. They'd also get their 17th points at home on the 59 date numerology, 59 the 17th prime. So Golden Knights, not a bad riddle. And all these notes were posted last night, so if you want to look over this with your own eyeballs, just go down to the NHL link that I put out last night. It's all right there. Penguins and Blue Jackets. This one's iffy. If Penguins lost, they'd be 4-7 away. Columbus is 47. If Columbus won, they would get their 17th points on the 59 date numerology. Pittsburgh also equals 59 if you use the rule for S. 59 the 17th prime. But what makes it iffy is Columbus, because it equals 47, the 15th prime. Penguins can also get that 15th away win. So I'd leave that one alone. If Pittsburgh did lose, they would stay on 32 points on the day, leaving 32 days left in the year. The Predators and Hurricanes game, Carolina's a favorite at home. If they lost today, if Nashville upset them, Nashville would be 5-5 away. Predators is 55. On the flip side, though, Carolina's 53, the 16th prime. Hurricanes could get that 16th win at home. So, iffy game there. Carolina lost in overtime. They'd have 32 points on the day, leaving 32 days left in the year. And then the Blues and Stars game, I don't like this one too much either. There's a chance Dallas stays on 32 points on the day, leaving 32 days left in the year. Or if they won, they would be 10-3 at home. Or 10-3-1 they would be. Kind of like 103, the 27th prime. Dallas Stars 27, but again, it was just like the other day. The Islanders had a lot going for them against the Kings. The only threat was that they would stay on 34 points on the day, leaving 34 days left in the year, and that is what ended up happening. So, got to be mindful of that. But I think there's some decent games in hockey today. And if you don't want to mess with any of the 1 o'clock games, the games that start a little bit later, 2 of them look halfway decent. So let you make the call on that. But yeah, a lot of games today, and some of them starting early. That's why I got out the notes last night. So anyway, that's NHL. College football today. Some games are already underway. Again, it's week 14, so really watching the 14s. Virginia had the 14s in favor this morning. I don't even know. Let's see. So Virginia did win this game. That's not a surprise because, again, really watch the 14s this weekend. Virginia Tech could pick up their 14th loss at Virginia. And the Virginia coach had a chance to improve to 25-25 on the 25 date numerology. And that was that for week 14. So VT, the favorite, did lose. Hopefully some of you took advantage of that this morning. Iowa and Nebraska. Iowa's the favorite in this game. Nebraska had a chance at the 14th loss versus Iowa. That was there. And staying on 25 wins on the 25 date numerology. And it's only halftime, but they are up 2 touchdowns. That's probably the way that's going. The thing that made that game a little bit tricky, though, was you had some 14 relationships. The Iowa coach came in 160 and 104. When you write out 14, it equals 104. But 105 is also the 14th triangular number. So, I mean, there would be some rhyme and reason to him picking up the 105th loss. And then the Nebraska coach, he had a chance to stay on 14 losses in week 14. That game is still not over. But as I also noted, he could get his 22nd overall loss on today, the 79 date numerology, the 22nd prime. So it looks like it's going to be the team head-to-head record that takes the cake. 14-point margin at halftime. Memphis and Cincinnati. Memphis is already up 14-3. I do suspect Memphis will take this game. The reason why, well, Memphis did have a 14 that could go against them, but they also had a chance at the 22nd win. And Memphis could also pick up their 14th win at home. But the reason I liked Memphis is because Memphis Tigers is 71. And notice, if they win, they're 7-1 in the conference, and Cincinnati is also 7-1 in the conference. So that looked like the strongest riddle there. Boise State and Colorado State. Boise State pretty big favorite on the road, as they typically are. Right now the game's tied. What's interesting about this game is if Colorado State won, they would be 1-4 at home versus Boise State all time. Kind of like 14 in week 14. And then the only other game today, Troy is 1-3 versus Appalachian State. Appalachian State, pretty good favorite on the road. If they lose, they will be 1-4. So kind of like week 14. The Troy coach is 5-6. Appalachian State equals 57 in the most pure cipher. It does have an S, so it is also 66. It's possible you could get to 6-6, but I'll take the more pure cipher in the 14 riddle. Also, Mountaineers equals 71. That's Appalachian State. The Appalachian State Mountaineers, they can become 7-1 in the conference. So college football looking pretty good so far today. And then to get to the main event, because I think most of you care about the NBA, I was wrong about this morning's basketball game. The Nets did have one little riddle to win, and it was becoming 6-4 in the conference because Brooklyn Nets is 64. I wasn't blind to that, but just looking at the typical indicators, I like that the Celtics could become 7-4 away because they're playing the New York Knicks next, which equals 74. Plus, it's the 74th NBA season. Plus, Brooklyn, New York's 74. And I thought them improving to 14-4 to face the team that used to be the Knickerbockers would make some sense. Knickerbockers is 144. And also, had Boston won the next two in the division, they would have gotten to 6-1 in the division, and New York Knicks is 61. So I thought that was the way things were going to go. It was just this one thing right here that spelled the Nets' potential upset, and that is what it ended up being. Nets won with their typical 112 points today. Brooklyn's 112. So that was disappointing. But if you don't have a lot of time today and you just want 3 good picks in the NBA, and again, I'd parlay these together to get the value, just because we're going to spend time decoding, because we haven't done a lot of decoding, but the stuff that's right on the surface in games I already talked about days in advance. I fully expect the Warriors to get the 16th loss versus the Heat. That's why I had the Warriors favored to beat the Bulls in the last game, where you could have got value if you took that. So Heat is 16. I fully expect the Warriors to pick up the 16th loss tonight. And let me see. The Bulls, we talked about them losing against the Warriors in their last game to set up this exact scenario here, picking up another loss to Portland. They will become 3-7 away. Portland's 37, Chicago's 37. 37's the 12th prime. Blazers can stay on 12 losses. Bulls can become 3-7 away. The only thing you'd have to think twice about is Chicago does also equal 46, but they're playing in Portland. Portland doesn't have a 46 connection. Portland and Chicago both 37. So I like the Bulls falling to 3-7 away here with a loss. And then Wizards, we talked about this too. Them falling to 3-7 away in Los Angeles. Los Angeles 37. Wizards 37. So the games that would surprise me tonight, and we're going to do more decoding, so there might be more great games here. There's still a whole lot more to decode, but just stuff that's surface level that we've already talked about. Lakers, Blazers, and Heat. Pretty sure those 3 teams get the job done tonight. So that said, give me 1 second to check on the phone to see how the charge is coming. Okay, 9% charged. I'll let it charge for a little bit longer. And just before I get into this, if anyone's looking at the college football notes and going, how come Saturday's not finished? Realize, I got a lot of the information out early. I will finish all the Saturday games tonight. So, the college football decode for the Saturday games, I'll be doing that after today's live stream's concluded. But right now, since we're about 3 hours to the start of the rest of the NBA games, let's go deeper on basketball. So what I've put in here, and if anybody wants to load up last night's NBA decode, last night I put up 3 posts. College football notes, which still need Saturday games completed. Hockey and NBA. You can load that up and you can look at exactly what I'm looking at. It's just that the information we're going to put in now, it won't be in your document until I update this screen. But you should have all the information that I'm looking at as of right now. I have all the teams' head-to-head records, conference records, out-of-conference records, division records in here. What I'm going to do is what I typically do before the live stream begins. Just look at it more with the NBA cheat sheet. Make sure I'm not missing things in the Gematria. And look at who these teams play upcoming for their home and away games. Because, again, what I'm looking for is teams hitting records that connect with the next home and away opponent. Because we're seeing that, I would say, at a ratio of 3 out of 4, the home and away records are syncing up with the next opponent. It doesn't come through every time, just like how last night I went with the Celtics because I thought they would hit that 7-4 mark to sync up with the New York Knicks, their next away opponent. But still, by using that method, we're winning a lot more often than not. Sometimes it disappoints. So, let me get everything up here we need. I already got all this information. Oh, what I also need to look at is streaks. I got to get the streaks in here. Okay, so Raptors schedule. Wait, who are they playing? Magic. Magic schedule. Okay, so again, this is going to be the 87th game. What else I need is the NBA cheat sheet. Okay, so Raptors, Magic, games in Orlando. Toronto's a 3.5-point favorite on the road. 87th game, Raptors lead 48-39. Again, our date numerology today, too. 79. Orlando happens to equal 79. 52-25. Lesser date numerology of 59. 40. It's also the 333rd day of the year, leaving 32 days remaining. Okay, so let's make sure we're not missing anything with the gematria of these teams. Orlando, Magic. So there's that Orlando 79, like the date numerology. Raptors 72, is that on the board? Okay. All right, so who do the Raptors play? If the Magic did lose, they would fall to 5-8 in the conference. Orlando Magic is 58, so that's one thing that could go against the Magic tonight. Their conference record would make a little bit of a sense with a loss. Okay, so I want to see who the Raptors play away next. Their next 2 games after this are home. Well, 3 games. They got the 76ers away next. 76ers. Now, I do believe 76ers has a 55 connection, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it does. So if they lost, they would go into that 76ers match 5-5. But something else to consider is if the Raptors split their next 2 away games, like let's say they won today and then they lost to Philadelphia, they'd be 6-5 away. Philadelphia 65. Philadelphia did lose that game in Toronto. So I feel like Philadelphia's got to get them back for last year now that they don't have Kawhi. Okay, so let's think about this some more. All right, so after this game, they played the Utah Jazz. Utah's 14, right? They could. We know Utah in 14 hits hard. If the Raptors won this game, they could go into Utah with 14. If they lost, that game's in Utah, though. Utah's pretty good at home. Okay. Yeah, it's hard to say that if they'd pick up 14 in this one and go into Utah with the 14. Okay, so let's say they picked up 14 against, and then they went into Utah. If they beat Utah, too, they'd get the 15th win. And then they would have a chance at number 16 against the Heat. Doesn't have to be that way. It's just like I pointed that out with the Knicks, too. The Knicks, had they won today and beat not the Knicks, had the Celtics won today and beat the Knicks, they would have had a chance at 16 versus the Heat, too, in their 3rd game. So it doesn't have to be that way. But I'm just seeing their next game, too. Houston Rockets is 59, the 17th prime. If they went on a little win streak here, they could even get that 17th win versus the Rockets. Okay. Let's see. How about from the Magic's perspective? The Magic, they got the Warriors next at home. And I'm thinking about that. So let's see. Warriors. For the person calling right now, I hear it calling in the background. I'm going to wait a little bit more. I just want to get more charge on the phone. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go back and charge it again because it doesn't have a lot. I want to get a few more percentage points on there. This one's a little bit tight. So the most immediate standout thing is if the Magic lost, they would be 5-8 in the conference. Actually, let's think about the Raptors. Okay, if they won, they play the Heat next. What does Heat have to do with their conference record? Well, it's not going to work out. Win or lose, it's not going to line up with the Heat for the next one. Let's think some more about the Magic. Their next conference game is the Wizards. Wizards. Okay. Somebody's calling on my other line because he happens to have the number. What's up, man?
What's up, brother? Hey, the Raptors are playing the Jazz at home. They're not on the road.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because I'm talking about their overall record.
Oh, okay. I see 8-3 for conference. Their next game's against Miami Heat.
But Miami Heat doesn't have an 83 connection.
Really? Miami Heat doesn't have 83?
No.
Oh.
Unless there's something with the exceptions. I'm not looking at all the ciphers.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, I must have been looking at all the ciphers then. Okay. Yeah, I think Toronto's going to lose today, then they're going to beat Utah at home.
Yeah, you're right. It does. If you use the exception with the reverse, it does equal 83 in the reverse. Okay.
Okay, that's what it is. Okay. Yeah, I think the Magic are going to win tonight, and then if Utah wins tonight against Memphis at Memphis, then I think they're going to lose at Toronto, and then Miami's going to beat Toronto to give them their first loss to go 9-1.
Okay, that could be how it is, because then they could pick up that 14th win over Utah, so it does show up a lot.
Yeah, it does, yeah. Okay, cool.
All right.
Just wanted to...
All right, appreciate it, man. Okay. There's still the chance, though, that the Magic fall to 5-8 in the conference. Raptors. Next game is versus Utah. If they lose today, they can pick up 14th win versus Utah. Heat equals 16. If Raptors win and versus Utah, they can pick up 16th win versus Heat. Yeah, I'd say this game, to me, it still looks a little bit dangerous, but this might, to me, the safe way to play this is if the Raptors lose, then you know that they're good to go against Utah. Or as close to knowing as possible. I mean, Utah in 14 is a very consistent pattern. We talk about it all the time. It's just sometimes teams do come in already on the number that corresponds with that team. So that's just my one concern about the theory of the Raptors losing today. Because again, when I look at the Magic's conference record, them falling to 5-8, that's not out of the question. So if the Magic won their next two in the conference, they could become 7-7 in the conference in DC, the land of 77. So I'll make a note about that. If Magic win next two in conference, they will become 7-7 in DC, the land of 77. Okay. All right, so that's that game. See if we can find some better ones. Okay. If the Hornets lost today, something I see just beyond what I have written down is Pistons equals 41, 13th prime. Hornets could pick up 13th loss. And the Pistons just lost to the Hornets. The Pistons have now lost to the Hornets 8 straight times. Charlotte's won the last 8. So Pistons lead the series 58-55. If they won today, they'd pick up the 59th win on the lesser 59 date numerology. The Pistons are 32-23 at home. Today does leave 32 days left in the year in case they stayed on the 32. Pistons are 6-11 in the conference. Hornets are 5-7 in the conference. Let's look at this some more. Let's pull up the cheat sheet here. Charlotte. If you use the exceptions for the master numerology in Hornets, it does have a 63 in reverse. If the Pistons won, they would be 6-3 at home. So I'll make a note about that. Okay. And let's see who these teams play next. All right, the Hornets are at the Bucks next. So after this game, they play at the Bucks. Notice they come into Detroit 3-7. Detroit equals 37. Milwaukee. Well, I'm thinking now, if the Hornets lost their next two, if they lost to the Pistons today and they lost to the Bucks, they'd become 3-9 away, and they'll probably lose that game to the Bucks. Charlotte does equal 39, so it would be a fitting away record for Charlotte. Charlotte equals 39. If Hornets lose next two, they are 3-9 away. They play at Bucks next. Okay. And let's think about that conference record. If they lost the next two, they would be 5-9 in the conference. Don't think that connects to Bucks. Okay. For anyone who might be wondering why I did the live stream this way today, I didn't have it all decoded before we came on. It's just because the hockey game started so early. I wanted to talk about the hockey games real quick before they started. Or, just get the information in case anyone wants to do line betting. So, just trying to do the best I can. There's so many games to go through. It was impossible to get it all done prior to 1 o'clock. So, okay. Pistons, let's see. Hornets, Pistons. Detroit also has that 91 connection, the 13th triangular number, just like Pistons is 41, the 13th prime, for one more reason for the Hornets to pick up their 13th loss there. Let me add that. All right, so far these are the things that stand out. If the Hornets won, they'd be 6-7 in the conference. North Carolina's 67, but the game's in Detroit. Fortunately, though, there's not a connection to that. All right, let's see who the Pistons play next. Pistons got the Spurs at home next. Just think about that. If they didn't lose today and they lost to the Spurs, San Antonio is 41, the 13th prime. Let's see. So San Antonio equals 41, 13th prime. Detroit's next home game is versus Spurs. They could pick up 13th loss. I guess it doesn't matter that it's home, it's just next game. About after the Spurs, see who they host after the Spurs. They got the Bucks. Well, sometimes you look too far down the road. It's more misleading than helpful. I'm just saying that if the Spurs lost this game, and they lost to the Spurs, and they lost to the Bucks, they'd be 5-6 at home. And I know Bucks equals 56. So if Pistons lost next 3 at home, they would become 5-6 to Bucks. So the more immediate stuff looks a little bit better for the Pistons, just because it would make sense for the Hornets to get that 13th loss in Detroit. And it would make a little bit of sense for the Pistons to get to 6-3 at home versus the Hornets. So I'd say the only real concern is just right here. If the Pistons lost their next 3 home games, how this would all line up. So theoretically, if you took the Pistons tonight and lost on it, you should be able to get it back in the next 2 games, because that's probably exactly what they would do. Lose to the Spurs and then lose to the Bucks. Okay. If Pistons win, they're 7-11 in the conference. Let me think about that in light of their next conference opponent, the Cavs. Is there anything with the Cavs? No. Okay. All right. Let's keep looking. So 76ers at Knicks. Philadelphia is a 7.5 point favorite. These teams have a lot of history against each other. 76ers are 8-2 in the conference, 2-1 in the division. Knicks equals 22 and 31, so that would be the upset narrative, to drop the 76ers to 2-2. Today does also have the 79 date numerology, which is the 22nd prime. London Bridge is 79 in the news today. The Knicks are 2-11 in the conference, so if they lost, they would be 2-12, like the New York area code, 2-1-2. They're 0-6 in the division. If they won, they'd be 1-6. The reflection of 6-1. New York Knicks is 61. Make a note about that. Okay, so All right. So if 76ers won, they would be 13-6. 13 the 6th prime. Knicks is 41 the 13th prime. So that's something else that's on the surface. Let me write that down real quick. Knicks equals 41 13th prime. 76ers would be 13-6 with a win. 13 6th prime number. Okay, so there's something. And, okay. So 76ers. Let's find out who their next away game is with. They got the Wizards next. Washington, D.C. is 56. D.C.'s 47. But it does seem that in sports, the 56 plays more with D.C. Washington, D.C.'s 56 in the most pure cipher. All right. Washington, D.C. equals 56. 76ers are at Wizards next. Would be 5-6 with a win. Just make the note here. DC's 47 would be 4-7 with a loss. And who do they play after that? Celtics after that. Something to keep an eye on is if the 76ers end up being 5-7 away after this match right here, just because NBA Finals is 57, this is very possibly, well, the Heat are another team. Right now, based on this early part of the season, I mean, your three likely teams to represent the Eastern Conference Finals are the 76ers, Celtics, or Heat. But if there is a 5-7 here, just remember that. It's a big championship number. Be the Eastern Conference Championship. All right, what's the conference record again? 76ers are 8-2 in the conference. 8-2. New York Knicks actually does have a 92 in it if you use the rule with E in reverse. New York Knicks is 92. So, again, I prefer to just stay to the base 4 ciphers, but the numerology rules in the base 4 ciphers, those are the ones we're looking at today if you use the numerology rules. So 76ers could become 9-2 in the conference. Again, the rule with E is it's also 22 if you use the master numerology in reverse. So it's plus 18 for each E in a word. There's only one E in New York Knicks. So that's why it goes from 74 to 92. Okay. Hold on. Wait. 76ers. So next away game is the Wizards. Did they have a connection to those numbers? Nope. And what about the Knicks? Let's see who the Knicks play at home next. The Knicks got the Celtics next at home. Okay, Celtics next at home, so I don't think these numbers are going to line up with the Celtics either way. Four and 6. Actually, I'm wrong. If the Knicks won, they'd be 4-6 to host the Celtics. Celtics is 46. So Knicks got a shot today. Again, if the 76ers lose, they are 2-2 in the division. Knicks is 22 in the most pure cipher. Boston's also 22. Boston's 22 and 31 as well. But still, that 22 is more pure. All right, let's see. Celtics equals 46. Knicks would be 4-6 at home with an upset. They host Celtics next. So if I was going to mess with this game, I'd probably take the Knicks with the points. So here's your upset narrative right here. What were the streaks these teams are on right now? The 76ers have won 1. The Knicks have lost 4 in a row. I think Black Friday equals 47 if you want to get a little more abstract. Black Friday is also 92. Interesting. 47 and 92. Well, that could go either way for the 76ers. They could get to 9-2 in the conference or fall to 4-7 away. But yeah, I mean, this game's pretty dangerous right here because this riddle's not bad for the 76ers either. Picking up that 13th win, becoming 13-6. Going into Washington, D.C., 5-6 away. Who did they play next? They got the Pacers at home in the next game. Indiana's 137. If they lost today, they'd be 12-7, and then that would set them up perfect to beat the Pacers in the next game. Well, Pacers could always shock them in Philadelphia too. I mean, it's not out of the question. 76ers right now, they are 7-0 at home, still looking for that first home loss. Okay, let me make this note though. Indiana equals 137. 76ers will be 13-7 if they split next two. They host Indiana next game. So one other thing to think about. Yeah, Knicks definitely have a shot at the upset. Still a little bit dangerous. Let me grab the phone. It should be good to go for the rest of the show. Okay. Yeah. All right. We got enough of a charge on it, and if anybody wants to call up in about anything, but we'll keep moving ahead, decoding the rest of the game, see if we can find another great game. Again, there's 3 games we really like in the NBA. We'll review all those at the end. We went over those first, but we haven't finished decoding all the games, so we're just trying to find if we can add more to the 3 we really like. I'm going to just jot down the note about what I said about Black Friday real quick, just in case it ends up being a pattern in a lot of games. Black Friday, 92.47. Let me just write it down in case it shows up. Black Friday equals 92.47. Whoops. 205.70. Okay. Okay. All right, so the Bucks could get to 9-2 away. That would drop the Cavs to 3-7 at home. Milwaukee's 37. Cavs' narrative to win would be to become 6-13, 13 the 6th prime. If the Bucks win, they're 16-3. All right, let's see. Cavs had a shot at their 59th home win today on the 59 date numerology. Bucks come in 9-2 in the conference. They're 5-0 in division, the Bucks. If they lost, they would be 5-1. Cleveland in 51, number that shows up. The Cavs are 4-11 in the conference. If they won, they'd be 5-11, 11 the 5th prime. They'd stay on 11 losses, Bucks 11. However, if the Cavs lost, they would get that 12th conference loss. Milwaukee's 37, the 12th prime. Cavs are 2-2 in the division. What I can say about that is today leaves 32 days left in the year. Good chance they end up being 3-3 in the division because Cleveland's 33. So, all right, hold on. Milwaukee Bucks. How many losses are the Cavs on? 13. Okay, Bucks has that 79 connection as well. All right, so the thing on the surface that could go against the Cavs the most is that Milwaukee's 37. They can become 3-7 at home. And Cavaliers. The Bucks come in 15-3 to play the Cavs. Doesn't that make sense? Cavaliers 153. Let's All right, let's look at their schedule. The Cavs got the Pistons next. So if the Cavs lost, they'd fall to 3-7, and they host Detroit next. Detroit equals 37, who Cavs host next. So if they do lose, they're 3-7 against Milwaukee 37, and then they host Detroit next 37. So that's a double whammy for the Cavs home record. And see the Bucks. Let's see who their next away game is. Detroit Pistons next away game. Oh, you know what else? I see something else if the Bucks win. You see how the Bucks are 9-2 in the conference? Look at Charlotte. Charlotte's 102. Charlotte's 102, so if they win, they'd be 10-2 in the conference to face Charlotte next conference opponent. So that's another good thing there for the Bucks. I'll make this note about Black Friday. I'm not sure. Black Friday equals 92. Bucks can improve to 9-2 away. And what did we say they play away? They play at Detroit next. Detroit. Well, man, Detroit's that 83 city though. That's the head scratcher right there. Detroit, Michigan equals 83 on the 83rd meridian. Okay. Who do they play after that? The Grizzlies. Well, they can't possibly have that record going into that game. Alright. I'll just make this note though. Detroit, Michigan equals 83 on 83rd meridian. Bucks would be 8-3 away if they lost. They play at Detroit, their next away game. All right, so that's the one threat. But again, looking at the most immediate information, I mean, the date numerology is there for the Cavs, but these riddles don't come through so often. I don't put a lot of weight on it. I mean, if the Bucks win, they are 10-2 in the conference, and they do face Charlotte next. Charlotte's 102, and if the Cavs lose, they're 3-7 at home. Milwaukee's 37 in the most pure cipher. They host Detroit next. Detroit's also 37 in the most pure cipher. So it's hard to overlook those stats. With those 3 games we really like, I mean, you could think about doing another. I'd do a parlay alone with those 3 games, and then if you want to build other parlays off of that, I mean, you could consider throwing the Bucks on there. But because they're a big favorite, they're not going to add a whole lot to it, and they are a little bit risky. They do look really good right now, the Bucks, though. But yeah, the most immediate stuff for this game does make it look a little bit better for the Bucks. All right, and then the Warriors and Heat. We'll look at this a little bit more. But again, I like the Warriors to win that last game against the Bulls so that they get that 16th loss against the Heat. Heat 16 in the most pure cipher. I do suspect that's what's happening. We also talked about how the Heat should win this game and their next game to get to 9-0 at home because, what is it? Is it Heat that equals 90 as well? Miami's 90. So, 29th of month, Warriors can fall to 2-9 away. And I guess this would be one thing that could go against Miami is just falling to 4-5 versus the West because Miami's 45. That would be the upset narrative. But again, I really like the Warriors to pick up that 16th loss versus the Heat. Also, Golden State's 41 the 13th prime, so good team to pick up a 13th win against for the Heat. But here, let's look at the schedules for both teams. Let's get a little bit more information. The Warriors are at the Magic next. Well, I think there is one thing that's interesting about that. Okay. Well, it makes things a little bit more interesting. Orlando does equal 38. If the Warriors upset the Heat tonight, they would go into Orlando 3-8. I don't think so, though. Let's see. Orlando equals 38. Warriors are at Orlando next. Warriors would be 3-8 with an upset. You can make a more exotic parlay tonight too with like some of these less likely upsets because they would be nice payouts. I mean, if the Warriors won and you took them on the money line, that would really amplify your parlay. I really doubt that though. It's just kind of like the Bucks and Hawks game the other day. Bucks looked like they'd likely win, and Hawks did battle with them. It was a closer game than expected. So, caller.
Hey Zach, what's going on, man? Happy holidays. How are you, man?
Doing all right. How are you?
I'm well. The other day, since you're on the Heat right now, you mentioned that the Heat would score 36 points, and that's exactly how many points they scored. How'd you come across that?
Oh yeah, that was the Heat Hornets game, and I said I really expect the Heat. I said it like 5 times. I expect the Heat to score 36 points in the first quarter. Don't you remember why I said that?
No, I'm saying I don't. I just remember you saying that because I was like on the chat, and I was also writing some stuff down. I was doing like 4 things at once, and I was like, and I tried to call you back on that one, but I did place that prop bet, and it did hit. But I'm thinking, what was the? How did you put that together?
Because Miami equals 36, Hornets equals 36 in both reduction ciphers, and it was the day leaving 36 days left in the year. I just knew that was coming through, man, because those things are just way too consistent. So often, if you just pay attention to teams' first quarter scores, the number they hit is either their own gematria or the opponent's gematria. I mean, if you pay attention, if you just go through the scores every single day and just look, it's like that all the time. So because both teams had the 36 connection and it was the day leaving 36 days left in the year, I was just like, watch, Miami will score 36 points in the first quarter, and sure enough.
Yeah, you were spot on with that one. Okay, gotcha. I couldn't find it back in the review when I tried to replay it, but thanks for the explanation.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, no problem, man. See it. Yeah, every day, just look at first quarter scores, man. The points scored by one of the two teams will usually be a tribute to one of the two teams. A lot more often than not. Okay, so Warriors. What happens if they lose both games? 2-10. If the Warriors lost both games, they would be 2-10 away. And notice Magic is 102, like 2-10 in reverse, 10-2, 2-10. So the way they're playing, that's probably the more likely outcome. And the Heat. Their next home game is the No. They got an easy team at home for their next one. The Wizards. That's who it is. Wizards. Whoops. Oh, what did I just do? Why is it? What in the world is going on? Why does it keep closing that? All right, Wizards. All right. Okay. Heat are at the Nets next. Well, the only thing I can say about that is if the Heat got beat in a surprise upset, their next game is the Nets, the team with all the 13 connections. But they could just as easily go in there with that 13th win. Brooklyn's 41, the 13th prime, and Nets is 13. Let's see. Brooklyn won with 112 this morning, that Brooklyn number. All right, let's see. Is Jimmy Butler playing today? All right, he's playing today. Let me see. Jimmy Butler. let's see what his records are. His record is all time against the Warriors. It's probably not very good because the Warriors have dominated everybody in the time he's been in the NBA. But let's see. His record's been pretty consistent with the people he's faced this year. He has 5 wins and 7 losses. 5 and 7. Golden State's 58. That's weird. Well, the most surface level stuff says Heat win. That's the initial thought, but now that I'm digging deeper, I mean, there are some things here for an upset narrative. You could think about using the Warriors as a parlay multiplier today. They would pay a whole lot. Again, the best things going for the Warriors for the upset is to go into Orlando 3-8 away. Orlando's 38. Keeping the Heat on 12 wins because the next opponent they play is the Nets, who dish out a lot of 13. But this digger deeping, he probably still will give the Warriors the 16th loss, which is what we were saying days ago. So, all right, but now if the Warriors do win, we're not blindsided. We know what the upset was. Okay. The Hawks and the Pacers game. So what stands out on the surface about this one, the Hawks are 10.5-point underdogs. If the Hawks won tonight, they would be 3-7 away, and Pacers is 37. So is Georgia. So that would be the upset narrative. If the Hawks lost, they would get that 15th loss in Indiana. Indiana's 47, the 15th prime. And Black Friday's got that 47 connection too. I'm not sure that matters. If the Hawks lost today, they would fall to 2-9 in the conference on the 29th of the month. The Pacers right now are 8-5 in the conference, that basketball number. Hey, by the way, when Duke got beat by that Lumberjack school the other day, Stephen F. Austin, did you see what they said? They said Duke's 22nd turnover led to Austin's 85th game-winning points. That's how they presented it on ESPN. The 22nd turnover led to the 85th points, that fast break lay-in. Again, those are the pure basketball numbers, 85-22. First March Madness tournament was in 1985. That was the number we talked about in February when we liked Virginia to win the championship. They ended up winning it with 85 points. And the lieutenant governor of Virginia, the story was synced up with, his name equaled 85. Okay, anyway, Hawks and Pacers. Pacers can get to 9-2 at home as well, those more Black Friday numbers. I really don't know if those matter, but it's just an observation. If everybody goes the 9-2 route today, I'll remember that for next year. Next year when Black Friday rolls around, I'll be like, okay, let's not forget the Black Friday 92 thing. All right, let's look at the schedules. All right, let's see. Let me update this real quick just in case anybody's looking at the document and wants to go over it with their own eyeballs. Okay. So Pacers, their next home game. Is against the Clippers. They got quite a road trip there. Five road games. It's tough. All right. And then Clippers. Well, it doesn't look like it goes with anything. the Pacers lost their next 2 at home, they would be 8-4. Indiana Pacers is 84. And their next home game is against the Clippers, so that's a very losable game. Let me make a note about that. Indiana Pacers equals 84. If Pacers lost next 2 at home, they would be 8-4. Next home game. And that's after a long road trip, too. So, I mean, that'll be like a tough home game. Coming back after that long road trip, it'll almost be like a 6th road game. Okay. And the other mathematical thought about that is Clippers equals 44, divisors of 84 sum to 44. It's like how Obama equals 84. He was the 44th president. Let's see. What about the Hawks? S in it, though, so it is also 37, but that 28 shows up a lot more. Yeah, this one could be an upset here. It's possible. Pacers. That said, the Hawks are an interesting team, man, because it seems like a lot of their games, just the way things line up, it looks like the Hawks a lot of times have a narrative at the upside. And sometimes they do, but sometimes they just play the team real tough and don't quite pull it out. The smartest way to play this game might be the Hawks with the points, since they're a 10.5 point underdog. Pacers at the 76ers next. Does that make sense? Their record. Okay. Who did the Hawks play after the Rockets? Away. Charlotte. If they end up being 3-9 right here in the Hornets game, that would make sense because Charlotte's 39. So that could go a number of ways. If they lost today, they'd go into the Rockets 2-8. They'd probably lose to the Rockets to become 2-9. Then perhaps they'd beat Charlotte. But if they won today and then lost to the Rockets and then lost to Charlotte, you could get to 3-9 that way as well. So. Tricky as well. Who did the Pacers play next in the conference? 76ers. Look at that one more time. Oh, Philadelphia 76ers is 95. If they won, they'd go into this 9-5. So that's a sign too. That's tricky. Well, based on the next opponent in the conference, that's an encouraging sign for the Pacers, but still, you still got things going both ways. Again, the 28 does show up a lot more with the Rockets than 37, so if the Hawks lose and go into the Rockets game 2-8 away, I mean, that does make sense. It's just that Pacers has the 37 connection, and if you use the S with Rockets, it is 37 too. All right, let's keep shopping. Pelicans and Thunder. Let's see. All right, 59th game on the 59 date numerology. Thunder lead 33-25. You got the 25 date numerology. Thunder are 21-9 at home. You got the 79 date numerology, 22nd prime if they picked up that 22nd win. Thunder are 4-8 in conference. Pelicans are 5-8 in conference. They could fall to 5-9 on the 59 date numerology in the 59th game as well. And that reminds me how the Lakers, when they played the Pelicans, it was the 58th game between those teams, and the Pelicans fell to 5-8 in the conference. Los Angeles Lakers also equals 58, though. You don't have that same connection with the Thunder. So, let's get up the schedules here. Pelicans. So so many teams are doing this, playing each other back to back. Like, what's the point of doing this in the scheduling? NBA and NHL both have a lot of this season. Okay, so they play each other back to back. So does that help us out? Pelicans is 79 as well, to go with the date numerology. New Orleans 54, just like how they're 5-4 at home to host them. Pelicans is 34. Next win in the series for the Thunder is 34. Well, you know what? As I'm thinking about this, there's a real good shot the Pelicans split the next two to become 13-7 because Pelicans is 137. Did you guys like that halftime score yesterday in the Dallas game with the purposefully missed extra point? You can always see it so easy when the kickers miss the extra point because they don't even follow through. It's like they tilt their body a certain way and they do like a half-ass kick. I mean, it's just so obvious. Like, don't people see this? And then you know Gematria, you're like, oh, there it is again. 13 points versus Dallas thanks to the missed extra point. 33 days left in the year. 137, 33rd prime. Cowboys 33. Okay, let's see. All right. These teams play each other back to back. Pelicans equals 137. Pelicans will be 7-13 if they split next two. And what's their record at home right now? They're 4-5 at home. 4-5. I don't think that goes with Thunder. It doesn't. I don't think it goes with Pelicans either. Okay. All right, let's see who the Thunder's next home game is against. The Pacers. Pacers. Pacers is 55 if you use the rule with E for reverse, because it's plus 18 for that E. Or wait, what letter am I missing? It's not 55, I take it back, it's 64. Oh, yeah, because you have to do the rule with P too, which is the 11th letter. You got to recognize the master numerology of the 11 and the 22. Okay. Alright, so Pacers is 64. Thunder host Pacers next. The date numerology would also support the Thunder winning this game. So the things do look a little bit. This game's on NBA TV too. NBA TV's 59. And the NBA TV 59 riddles have been really consistent this year, so that's where the Pelicans falling to 5-9 in the conference would make sense. Double check some things. Thunder. Pelicans. Let's see, who do the Pelicans play away at next? Let me check Mavericks real quick. Well, their next away game is at Dallas. Okay. Does that line up with anything? They'd have to split their next 2 away games to get to 3-8 away versus the Mavericks. So that would be the riddle for the Pelicans. Mavericks equals 38. Pelicans next away game. Whoops. Pelicans next away game is at Dallas. They would have to split next 2. Obviously, the more winnable game is the Thunder game, but I don't know. The immediate stats are looking better for the Thunder here today. I'm sure I had that right. Yeah, at the Mavericks. Well, upsets do happen. That'd be a nice upset. If they did lose today, they'd have a chance to beat the Mavericks in the next one. Let me check out Chris Paul real quick. Well, is Chris Paul playing? Let's make sure that first. Chris Paul's status. November 29th. Alright, well, nothing's coming up, so he's probably playing. Chris Paul stats. Oops, wrong thing. Chris Paul, New Orleans Pelicans. 19 wins, 9 losses. 19-9. I don't think that connects with anything. Nope. Okay. All right. Okay, the Jazz and Grizzlies game. '90th game, Jazz lead 56-33. Their next loss is 34. Memphis is 34 if they picked up the 34th loss in Memphis. Grizzlies are 19-26 at home. Grizzlies are 3-8 in the conference. Memphis is also 38, just like how they're 3-8 at home. Jazz are 8-5 in the conference. Now I think Memphis. No, that's 97, not 95. All right, let's double check the Gematria here. Jazz, I don't think that goes with anything. Grizzlies. Grizzlies got that 59 connection, like the date numerology. Okay. I don't see anything with that. Let's check the schedules. All right, Jazz are at the Raptors. All right, from Grizzlies to Raptors. If the Jazz won, they would be 4-6 away. Raptors is 46. I know that. So that definitely stands out. So they get that win. They go in with the right record to face the Raptors. The Grizzlies got... No. The Grizzlies got the Pacers at home next. Pacers. If they won, they'd be 4-8. The Reflection at 8-4. If they split their next two, they're 4-9 at home. Grizzlies is 49. The Raptors 46 is more direct. You don't have to go off the reflection with that. Jazz. Am I missing something with the Raptors? Toronto. Let's look a little bit more. Grizzlies play at Minnesota next. It's not going to make a difference. Who's the Jazz next conference opponent? Lakers. I feel like the Lakers have a 95 connection. Am I wrong about that? Okay, they do. Los Angeles Lakers is 95. So if the Jazz win, they're 9-5 in the conference. Jazz play Lakers next conference opponent. So those two things are good signs, in my opinion, for the Jazz. Getting to 4-6 away to face the Raptors next, and becoming 9-5 in the conference because the Lakers are the next conference opponent. So let me make sure I got that right. Okay, Raptors are East, 76ers are East, Lakers are West, so. And then I see they play the Grizzlies next. If the Lakers won their they'd have to win. If the Grizzlies... No, never mind. That would be interesting if they beat the Lakers, just because they'd get to 10-5, kind of like 105, the 14th triangular number. Utah 14. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But based on these two stats right here, I think this is a bit better for the Jazz. Again, a lot of teams are going in home and away a record, connecting to the next opponent. Same with conference record. All right, Clippers and Spurs. Let's see what we got here. So the Spurs' next loss all-time is 44. That's a Clippers number. Doesn't have to come today. Clippers are 10-4 in conference. Spurs are 3-8 in conference. If the Spurs did lose, well, actually I see two things here. Spurs is 39, but LA Clippers is 48. So you can make an argument either way for that. Let me update this too. My computer's been freezing a lot lately, and I don't know what that's about, but when I'm updating something that's already been published, it doesn't auto-save. So I'll just make sure we don't lose what we've written down. All right, let's see. Okay. So Clippers could get to 4-4 away. Again, that is a Clippers number. Spurs would fall to 4-7 at home. You could also LA's 13 and 14. I really wonder if those Black Friday numbers play, because again, Black Friday is 47. 47 is the 15th prime. Clippers get that 15th win, make the Spurs 4-7 at home. But hold on, let's write these things down. Clippers equal 44. Clippers can improve to 4-4 away. LA equals 13-14. Spurs are on 13 losses, can pick up 14th. Clippers, they got games back at home next. Wizards and Blazers. Let's see. San Antonio Spurs, Wizards, Blazers. Alright, I don't see anything with that. Who do they play away at next? Alright, Clippers are at the Bucks next. Wisconsin's 44. They don't call them the Wisconsin Bucks, though. I'll write it down, though. Wisconsin equals 44. Next away opponent is Bucks. Okay. And what do the Spurs got at home next? Spurs got the Rockets next at home. That doesn't connect, unfortunately. Clippers next conference opponent. Spurs. And then Blazers. Spurs and Blazers. They can't quite have that record. If they did win tonight, it would set them up to get their 12th conference record over Portland. Portland's 37, the 12th prime, just like Los Angeles, and they'd get that 12th conference win in Los Angeles. So I'll make a note about that. Portland equals 37. Los Angeles equals 37. If 12th prime. If Clippers win today, they can get 12th conference win in next game versus Blazers in LA. Conference game. Okay. there hasn't really been. There's not really any great narrative. The best thing I could say for the Spurs winning is being 7-13, just because it's kind of like 13-7, 137, the 33rd prime. Spurs is 33. I'm not really seeing anything else though. Well, I guess they get to 4-8 in the conference. LA Clippers is 48. That's one thing. But picking up that 14th loss, LA does have the 14 connection. That's probably where it's at. Yeah, LA in 14 does play. Not as strong as the 13, but LA in 14 does play. So getting that 14th loss versus LA. I'll just jot down the Black Friday thing too. Not sure about this, but okay. Check one more thing. AT&T Center. 56. Do I see it? AT&T Center's got that 13.7 too. Well, did I see a 5.6? Oh wait, hold up. It's not their lone narrative. AT&T Center was 56, wasn't it? So they could get to 5 and 6 at home as well. Spurs could become 5 and 6 at home. Spurs could become 7 and 13. Yeah, I might leave that one alone. I mean, Spurs have played really bad, but their team's not really that bad, so they could recover. They need a big win. San Antonio. Whoops. San Antonio, Texas is 56 too. So yeah, Spurs got a shot tonight, but I don't know. I'd probably just leave that one alone. And the Mavericks and Suns game, Friday equals 99 if the Suns pulled off an upset here. It'd be 9 and 9 on Friday. Let's see. I feel like Suns has a 73 connection, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Suns is 73. So if the Mavericks win, they're 7 and 3 in the conference. So that's the most standout thing right there. Take that over the Friday. Let's see. All right, so the Mavericks, they play at the Lakers next. If they, if they lost, they'd be 5 and 3. Los Angeles is 53. So that makes things a little bit more dicey there. Los Angeles equals 53. Mavericks could fall to 5-3 before playing at LA next. So. Okay. And then they got New Orleans after that, so New Orleans has that 54 connection. If they did lose, they could be on a little losing streak. If they lost here, they'd probably lose at LA. Well, there'd be Riddle. It'd be a tough call, but New Orleans in 54 has been hitting. So if the Mavericks lost the next two, they'd go into LA 5-3, and then they'd go into New Orleans 5-4. What about the Suns? Suns host the Hornets. No. Suns. Their next home game is the Timberwolves. Let's see. Whoops, wrong thing. Let me check Wolves too. Wolves. Oh, Wolves is 66. That's what they wear on the jersey, so yeah, this is tricky. Wolves equals 66, Suns host T-Wolves next. They would be 6-6 with the win. And again, Friday does equal 99. Suns could improve to 9-9 on Friday. It's just the Suns have not been playing well lately with the injuries, and the Mavericks have been playing well, except for when LA came into town. Let me double check the Gematria Mavericks. Well, conflicted. The Mavericks conference record would make a lot of sense with the win, but with a loss, they go into LA with that perfect record. 5-3 shows up so much with LA. And then the Suns, if they win, they're 6-6 at home, and they do host the Wolves next, so that would also make a bit of sense. So the home and away records favor the Suns. The conference record favors the Mavericks. Wait a minute, let me check one more thing. Suns' next conference opponent. Wait a minute. No, not quite. Okay, the Suns' next conference opponent. After this is the Pelicans. I don't think that syncs up. No. Yeah, that one's dangerous too because you got the conflicting narratives. Again, Bulls and Blazers. Talked about the Bulls losing the last one to the Warriors to set this exact scenario up. Bulls falling to 3-7 in Portland. Portland 37, Chicago 37. Blazers can stay on 12 losses in Portland. Portland 37, the 12th prime. Bulls 12. So, still liking the Blazers here, but let's just dig a little bit deeper just in case. Oh, Blazers can also become 3-5 versus the East with a win. Chicago's 35, so I mean, that's another thing that's nice there for the Blazers. Chicago in 35 plays well too. But here, let's just look at the schedules. Which is perfect because Sacramento's 37. So they'd go in there 3-7 to Sacramento, which also makes sense. The only devil's advocate narrative is that Chicago equals 46, but again, you got the overlap with 37. One other thing about the Bulls picking up their 14th loss is this. Blazers equals 43, the 14th prime. Bulls can pick up 14th loss. So there you go. And the Blazers, the next team they host is Sacramento. Well, if the Blazers win their next 2 home games, they will be 4-4 at home. Portland's 44, Rip City's 44, and I don't think Sacramento has the 44, no. So their next home game, though, is Sacramento. Very beatable team. Yeah, and Blazers, they play at LA next, so they probably get that 13th loss in LA. Okay. But yeah, I dig the Blazers here. 8-point favorites. Yeah, they're a pretty big favorite. I still like them a lot. All right. I like the Lakers a lot too. Again, Wizards and Los Angeles 37. Wizards can fall to 3-7 away. We talked about this with the Wizards upsetting the Suns the other day. That was a nice upset call. That one has some good value. Lakers are a big favorite, 11-point favorite. Do they win by 12? 37 the 12th prime, both teams with the 37 connection. Okay, let's see. 194th game, Lakers lead 119-74. Lakers are 70-23 at home. Lakers are 4-1 versus the East. Wizards are 4-6 versus the West. Well, let's just see who these teams play next. All right, Wizards are at the Clippers next. So well, that's what almost everyone does, right? Plays back-to-back in the Staples Center. So that would make a bunch of sense if they lost those 2 games. And if the Lakers win, they'll be 9-1 at home, 91 the 13th triangular number. So that would make sense too. All right, let's see. Lakers got the Mavericks next. Dallas is 13. So it makes sense to be 9-1 to host the Mavericks. Plus Mavericks equals 101. I know that. So Mavericks equals 101. Lakers can become 10-1 by winning next 2 at home. Hold on, let me go back up to the Dallas game real quick. If Dallas did lose to the Suns tonight and lost to Los Angeles, they'd be 11-8. And Los Angeles is on the 118th meridian. Los Angeles, California equals 118. I'll put a note about that here. If Dallas loses next 2, they will be... They did play the Lakers next, right? Yeah. If Dallas loses next 2, they will be 11-8 in Los Angeles. Los Angeles, California equals 118. LA on 118th Meridian West. Okay. Still not sure about that game, though. Alright, so Mavericks. Let me just pull up their Gematria. I know they got the 101 connection. Yeah, so there is a good chance the Lakers do win these next 2 home games to become 10-1 over the Mavericks. Don't forget finals equals 101 as well, either. Lakers have had some nice finals tributes this season. And double check something else here. Okay. All right, but yeah, that game looks good. So, all right, let's go over all this again one more time. We got an hour and a half till the first game start. Again, I was wrong about the Celtics this morning. The Nets did have a little narrative right here. I faded it, though, just because I thought it was going to set up the Celtics nice for their next opponent. Division record and away record. Usually that's a good sign. All right, the Raptors and the Magic game. So if the Raptors did lose, they would fall to 8-3 in the conference. They do face the Miami Heat next. Miami Heat's 83. I'm not sure if this Black Friday thing means anything. I mean, it is a culturally recognized term. It's used in a lot of Western nations. Black Friday does equal 92 if the Raptors won. They would be 9-2 today. It's the consumer holiday. Anyway. Does the NBA is the NBA advertising anything for Black Friday? Maybe they are, but again, if the Magic lose, they're 5-8 in the conference, and Orlando Magic's 58. If they won, they'd be 6-7, 67 the 19th prime 2019. We did see that if the Magic won the next 2 in the conference, they would become 7-7 in DC, where the city on the 77th meridian, where a lot of 77 rituals show up. The Raptors, if they drop this game, if they do not win today, they'll stay on 13 wins. They do play Utah next, and we see a lot of teams pick up that 14 against Utah. So there is the chance, though, that the Raptors could go into the Utah game on 14. And if they did, I'd like them to beat Utah, too. Hold on real quick. I just got to take this phone call real quick. Hey. Uh-huh. Right. Hey, I'm doing my work right now, so are you going to hang around there for an hour and a half? Well, I'm doing my live stream where I'm presenting people to sports games right now. I told them that I had to take the call, though. They understand. But, yeah, I'll call you back as soon as I'm done. I'm almost done, so I'll call you back real soon. All right. All right, see you. Bye. Sorry about that. That was my dad. I'm putting him on my phone plan, trying to help him save some money. Anyway. Okay, apologies. So this Raptors and Magic game, again, to me it's a little bit dicey. Caller earlier, he was filling the Magic upset today. It is very possible because it would set the Raptors up to get that 14th win versus Utah back at home. But yeah, we looked. We were hunting for more clues. I want to see one more time who the Raptors play away again. I forget who their next away game is. $76ers. Is that right? Yeah, 70. Yeah, so that was the trick. I must have written that down. I know we talked about that. What, did I not write it down? All right. 76ers equals 55. Raptors play at 76ers for next away game. They would be 5-5 with a loss. But there was something else about... Hold on. Just got the Magic, and then the next conference game was the Heat. Okay, we wrote that down. Yeah, so, I mean, their next conference opponent, it would make sense if they lost. Their next away opponent, it would make sense if they lost. And then they could get that 14th win back at home against Utah. I mean, the Raptors, though, it's just like they've been a team when things have been stacked against them, they've won anyway. So that's my apprehension with this. And then again, the Magic can fall to 5-8 in the conference, and Orlando Magic's 58 in the most pure cipher, too. So I'm not crazy about that game. There is reason to believe, though, that the Magic could upset tonight. The Hornets and Pistons game. The Hornets' next loss is 13. The Hornets have won 8 straight against the Pistons. That winning streak could end tonight. You know, we've seen a lot of streaks go to 8 and then end after 8. So the Hornets' winning streak against the Pistons could end at 8 tonight. If the Pistons won, they'd get that 59th win on the lesser date numerology of 59. One concern for the Pistons is if they lost, they'd stay on 32 wins on the day, leaving 32 days left in the year at home. But the Hornets' next loss is 13. And Pistons equals 41, the 13th prime. Detroit's 91, the 13th triangular number. If the Pistons win, they're 6-3 at home. Hornets is 63. And if Charlotte loses the next 2 away, they'll be 3-9. Charlotte's 39. And their next away game is at Milwaukee, so they probably will lose that game to the Bucks. And looking a little bit further down the road, if the Pistons lost their next 3 home games, they would become 5-6 versus the Bucks. 5-6 at home. Bucks is 56. But again, that could be looking too far out, and the more immediate stuff for this game makes it look good or better for Detroit. Ending the losing streak at 8, giving the Hornets the 13th loss in the appropriate city, becoming 6-3 at home. So there's that. The 76ers and Knicks game, tough one. Knicks are dogs at home, but they got a shot tonight. If the 76ers win, they will become 9-2 in the conference. New York Knicks is 92, so based on that, that looks good for the 76ers. 76ers are 2-1 in the division. Knicks... Why did I write Boston? Do they play Boston next? 2 in the division. Knicks is 22, but it's got an S, so it's also 31. Today does have the 79 date numerology, the 22nd prime. The Knicks, though, are 2-11 in the conference. If they lost, they'd be 2-12. That's the New York area code, 212. And the Knicks are 0-6 in the division, still looking for that first win. If they did win, they'd be 1-6. New York Knicks 61, the reflection 1-6. Knicks is 41, the 13th prime. 76ers can get their 13th win against the Knicks. They'd be 13-6. 13, the 6th prime. The 76ers play at Washington, D.C. next. If they do win, they're 5-6 away going into Washington, D.C. 56. And the upset narrative is, well, one of them is the 76ers falling 2-2 in the division, but you can make that argument either way. But notice the Knicks are 3-6 at home. If they win, they're 4-6 at home, and they host the Celtics next, and Celtics is 46. So many teams are doing that. The 76ers, if they split their next 2 games, they'll be 13-7. They play Indiana 137 next, so there is a good chance they split the next 2. Then again, if they win today, they could drop it to Indiana. So again, this riddle's conflicted as well. The underdog Knicks definitely have a shot, but there's some things on the board for the 76ers just the same. And if the Knicks are 2-12 in the conference, I mean, that is the New York area code, so that does seem to show up a lot with the Knicks. All right, the Bucks and Cavs. Cavs are a 10-point underdog, but they have a shot tonight as well. First with the Bucks. If the Bucks win, they're 10-2 in the conference. They play Charlotte next. Charlotte's 102. If the Cavs lose to the Bucks, they'll be 3-7 at home. Milwaukee's 37. They host Detroit next. Detroit's also 37, so they'd have the perfect record to host the next opponent. Bucks are another team that have a 9-2 chance today on Black Friday. Black Friday 9-2. It's interesting how many 9-2s could play today. So I'm just wondering if the Black Friday thing matters. The narrative for the Cavs upset is to drop the Bucks to 5-1 in the division because Cleveland has the 51 connection. For the Cavs to improve to 5-11 in the conference, 11 the fifth prime, stay on 11 losses versus the Bucks 11. Then again, if they lose, they'd get that 12th loss in the conference. Milwaukee 37 the 12th prime. If the Cavs did win today, they'd be 3-2 in the division on the day leaving 32 days left in the year. And hold on, I want to look at the Cavs schedule one more time. Cavs host the Pistons next. That's the more winnable game. I'm just thinking about the odds of them being 3-3. Well, actually, is Detroit in the same division as them? I think they are. Yeah, they are. So if they lost today and beat the Pistons, they'd be 3-3 in the division. Cleveland 33. So they could definitely win that next game. And then they would host the Magic. What would their record be at home? No, never mind. Hold on, let me take this call real quick. Caller?
Hey, what's going on, Zach? Happy holidays.
Hey, man. You're calling from a different number, aren't you?
No, same number.
Huh, it didn't show your name when you called for some reason. That's weird.
Oh, okay. I don't know why. But I wanted to ask you about today, specifically with the NBA. I observed there's 13 games going on today, and I saw the 13 actually play earlier with the first game. So I was wondering what you thought about that, being as though it could play in pretty much every game tonight, I think.
That's true.
For like 2.
That's true, because the Celtics stayed on 13 versus the Nets.
Yeah, and also you were talking about the 10-2 for the Bucks, but Charlotte does also equal 39. So I did just want to bring that up.
So what was your thought about the 39 with Charlotte with the Bucks?
The Bucks could be 9-3 in the conference.
Oh, if they split the next two? Oh no! Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Oh, never mind. They'd go in 9-3. The reflection.
Yeah, and also I wanted to see what you thought about being as though today's Black Friday, a big consumer day. The Bucks kind of got that funny name where it's like connected to money.
Sure.
And then they're also playing in the arena that used to be the Quicken Loans Arena.
That's true.
Before they changed their name, so.
Well, now it's Rocket Mortgage, so it's like I think that's still related, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but I was looking all over today, Zach, and I usually hate taking the Cavs, but I feel like they have a pretty good shot at more than likely covering, I think. But possibly winning as well, just because of the 13, the 6s all over the place. What else was it? Also, it's 7 days to Giannis's birthday, but it's 8 days if you count the end date. They can stay on 8 away wins and pick up the 3rd loss. And also, he's on 18 games consecutively where he's had a double-double. It's like it's the record is 34, but I think Giannis is the closest person to ever come to the record so far, and Bill Walton has the record.
Huh.
And it's 34, which is his number.
And Bucks equals 34 too.
Yeah, and yep. So this game is sticking out a lot to me for some reason today.
Sure, I agree that the Cavs have a shot. It's just that they can fall to 3-7 at home, and Milwaukee's 37, and they host Detroit next. Detroit's 37. So
yeah, I hate that 37. Honestly, I hate that. But with the winning streak, the 10-game winning streak, do you see any reason for it to potentially be extended further?
Bucks equals 11.
Bucks equals 11. Yeah,
They're on a 9-game winning streak right now. The Bucks.
Yeah.
I
just know because not one more thing besides before I get off. The reason I was bringing up so many 13 is because Giannis, his whole name, well, not his whole name, but Giannis Antetokounmpo equals 91, the 13 triangle or whatever. And I saw over their last 10 games, they're 9-1. They're on a 9-game winning streak. So I don't know. I associate the 9-1 with possibly maybe a loss coming now. You know what I mean? So
right.
It's I might be overlooking it, but I was just over observing. That's what I do.
Well, I do it too. It's easy to do. Yeah, a lot of the games tonight are really iffy. You are right about the 13, though. The 13 is everywhere, and there are 13 games today, so that 13 really could play hard.
Yeah.
If you want to play it super safe today, I don't think the Blazers and Lakers are going to fail. I doubt the Heat fail, too, but the Warriors do have a few things there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go over it. If you get any more thoughts, feel free to call back in.
I will.
All right, see you, man.
Have a good day, Zach.
Yeah, take care, see you. Okay, so he is right. There's 13 games today. I did document that. A lot of times the total games for the day is part of the count. The Celtics did stay on 13 wins versus the Nets. It's funny, when I first looked at this game before I even decalled, I was like, the Celtics could lose and stay on 13 wins versus the Nets. But then when I saw how things lined up with the next opponent, I was like, okay, that's got to be where it is. I guess they're going to get off that, but a lot of times that first thought's the right one. Anyway, if the Raptors did get beat tonight, they would stay on 13 wins. Let me add that to the notes. 13 games today. If Raptors lost, they would stay on 13 wins. Celtics stayed on 13 wins earlier versus Nets. Of course, we know Nets is 13. So, yeah, the 13s could play all over the place. Unfortunately, in the Hornets and Pistons game, either team can pick up the 13th loss. You could make an argument for the Pistons to get that 6th home win, 13 the 6th prime, or stay on 6 wins. But remember, Hornets does have that 63 connection. I think things are a bit better for the Pistons there. The 76ers can get that 13th win today. Knicks 41 the 13th prime. So that's the way the 13 can play there. The Cavs could stay on 13 losses and improve to 6-13. I'll tell you what, if I was taking the Cavs, though, I would have to take them with the points. I mean, because again, them falling to 3-7 at home and then hosting Detroit next, Milwaukee 37, Detroit 37. I mean, that really does scream out. And the Bucks becoming 10-2 in the conference to face Charlotte 102. I know Charlotte does equal 39 as well, but 10-2 is just like 102. So, Cavs do have a few narratives, though. The Heat can get the 13th win today, and the Heat were already looking pretty good. Just the things that could go south on the Heat is falling to 4-5 versus the West because Miami's 45. They're hosting Super Bowl 54 this year, though. There might be something to think about with that. Becoming 5-4 in the West. You know what? The thing to think about with that, I was like, okay, well, who's the football team? Oh, duh, the 49ers. Weird. Today's 65 days before the Super Bowl, and San Francisco 49ers is 65. God, I hate this NFL season. It is so tough. But that is something to think about. If the Heat become 5-4 versus the West today, Miami hosting Super Bowl 54, Warriors next. Unless the Raiders are going to come out of nowhere, I doubt it. 13 games today. Golden State. All right. So again, Warriors can get that 16th loss versus the Heat. Heat 16. We've been talking about that before this game, days before this game was played, days before these teams' last games were played. And the Heat can pick up the 13th win. Again, 13 games in NBA today. 13 really could be the number of the day if you want to put together a small parlay. Try to turn a few bucks into some big bucks. Picking your best 13 riddles. And again, it is the 29th of the month. The Warriors can fall to 2-9 away, but that's where the one riddle is for the Warriors to upset. Is that if they did win, if the Warriors upset the Heat, they'd be 3-8 away, and their next away game is Orlando, which equals 38. So it's possible, but I'm doubting that. If the Warriors lose the next 2 away games, they'll be 2-10. They play the Magic next, Orlando Magic. Magic's 102, so 2-10, 102 in reverse. And then the Heat play at the Nets next. So if they did lose, then they could pick up the 13th win against the Nets, team with the 13 connections. But Golden State's got the 13 connection as well. And we did see Butler was 5-7 versus the Warriors. If he did lose, he'd be 5-8. Golden State's 58. But again, I don't know how much weight I'm going to put on that. Those records are from when the Warriors were a lot different teams. So anyway, that 16th loss against the Heat, most likely on a day of 13s. Heat get the 13th win. All right, we don't have a 13 in this game. Hawks and Pacers. The Pacers are 8-5 in the conference. If they win today, they're 9-5. They play the Philadelphia 76ers next, which equals 95. Hawks can fall to 2-9 in the conference on the 29th of the month. Indiana's 47, the 15th prime. Hawks can pick up the 15th loss in Indiana. And the narrative for the Hawks to upset is to become 3-7 away because Pacers is 37. But the Hawks' next away game is the Rockets. Rockets equals 28 in the most pure cipher. It does have one S, so it is also 37. But going into the Rockets 2-8 away, very probable. And the Pacers would have to lose their next 2 at home to fall to 8-4 because Indiana Pacers is 84. Their next home games against the Clippers, they probably will lose that game. And again, the Pacers are also another team that can hit 9-2 today. There's a lot of teams that have this chance at 9-2. Black Friday's 92. Again, I've never really paid attention to league-wide outcomes on Black Friday. So I think with each passing year, we just analyze more and more stuff, which sometimes is problematic. But if I see all these 92s hit, I'll definitely remember it going forward. Because again, that's also the philosophy, right? We're always learning and trying to improve more. So all things good and bad. The Pelicans and Thunder game, this is the 59th game between these teams. NBA TV's 59. We see a lot of 59 riddles with NBA TV. The way it could hit today is if the Pelicans lost, they'd be 5-9 in the conference. And if the Thunder win today, they'd stay on 25 losses versus the Pelicans on the 25-date numerology. They'd also get their 22nd win at home. Today has 79-date numerology, the 22nd prime. Remember, the Pelicans have 2 connections to 79. Pelicans is 79 and New Orleans Pelicans is 79. And Zion Williamson 79, who's not back yet. These teams do play each other back-to-back, so I suspect the Pelicans will split these 2 games to become 7-13. 13-7. Pelicans 137. Also, if the Thunder win, they will be 6-4 at home. Right now they're 5-4. New Orleans is 54. If they win, they'll be 6-4 at home. And Pacers equals 64, who they host next. If the Pelicans lose, they'll be 6-13. 13 the 6 prime. Again, it could be a day of 13s. 13 games today in NBA. And The Pelicans' next away game is against the Mavericks. Mavericks is 38, so they'd have to split the next two to hit that number. Doesn't have to be that way, but if they do lose today, keep that in mind because that could be a nice upset narrative to beat the Mavericks. I'm sure they'd be close to it. Well, probably around 10 points, 9.5, 8.5, something like that at the Mavericks. I got to admit, though, the Pelicans team isn't bad. You know, they got Redick. If Redick's on fire, that skinny dude they got from the Lakers, I can't even think of his name. He's pretty good. They got some other players, too. Holiday. I imagine when they get Zion back, they're going to be a formidable team. It does look a little bit better for the Thunder today. Riddle looks a little bit better for them. Jazz and Grizzlies, we saw that if the Jazz won, they'd be 9-5 in the conference. Los Angeles Lakers 95, that's who they play next. So they'd go into the Lakers game 9-5. And I think Lakers and LeBron are both 96. Let me check that. Yeah, Lakers is 96. I know LeBron is. LeBron's 96. So if they win this game, hold on, let me take this call. And I was going to say, lose at Lakers, they'd be 9-6 in the conference. Caller?
Hey, Zach, I just wanted to add one more thing. So one of the reasons why I was looking at that game was because one of the things you preached, like Cleveland being the 33 team,
right?
And today being the 333rd day of the year.
True.
But I just looked. The Milwaukee coach, this is his 101st game with the coach of Milwaukee, and he could pick up his 26th loss today.
The Milwaukee coach can get his 26th loss in his 101st game?
Yeah.
That's a good find. Yeah, that could happen.
With Milwaukee.
Yeah, okay, 101st game with Milwaukee and get the 26th loss with Milwaukee. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a good one right there. All right, yeah, nice one, Victor.
All right, just want to add that.
All right, thanks, man. All right, I'll go back and plug that in the notes. Put that up here. So anyway, Jazz can get to 9-5 in the conference to face the Lakers, and if the Jazz win, they'll be 4-6 away, and their next away game is at the Raptors. Raptors is 46. I'm gonna upgrade this to bold status. I like this riddle here. I like that one. Grizzlies can also pick up the 13th loss on this day of 13s. So I'll add that too. Grizzlies can pick up 13th loss, 13 games in NBA today. Let me check FedEx Forum real quick. FedEx Forum. All right, I'm not seeing anything too crucial there. Okay, let me go back. So Milwaukee coach. So it will be his 101st game. He's 75-25. So yes, this is 100% true. Let me go back and plug that in the notes. So Cavs would be a great parlay multiplier today. And realize this doesn't mean for sure that the Bucks are going to win. Some prime number relationships have failed this year, including one just like that with 101-26 in a Pacers game earlier this year against the Bucks. I forget exactly how it was, but I know it was 101-26 on the 26th. Probably, it must have been of October, yeah. It must have been October 26th. There was some 101-26 riddle with that game if the Pacers had won. And I know the Pacers lost that game. But this still is an encouraging sign for the upset. So Cavs is a parlay multiplier. 101st game for Bucks coach. 101-26th prime. Bucks coach can pick up 26th loss in 101st game with Bucks. Cavs would make a great parlay multiplier. So again, to build your parlays tonight, I'd really build them around the Lakers and Blazers games. I think those are, I mean, I don't want to jinx everybody, but I mean, the riddles look good for those games. The Heat are probably also going to win. The Jazz also look pretty strong. So if you want to build some parlays around those games and, do one of those with the Cavs as a big multiplier on the money line, I mean, that's what would take your parlay a long ways. So there's still some concerns here for the Cavs, though, like being 3-7 at home versus Milwaukee and hosting Detroit next. But this is encouraging, too, because there was already some stuff there that looked decent for the Cavs, and now you have this to add into the equation. I'll add this, too. Cavs can stay on 13 losses, 13 games in NBA today. Again, that really could be the number of the day right there, 13. All right, where were we at? Okay. Clippers and Spurs. Clippers are 10-4 in the conference. We were talking about how if they won this game and they won the next game, they could get that 12th win in the conference versus Portland. And it looks like they will beat Portland in their next game. But they got to get past the Spurs for that riddle to line up. The Spurs, you can make an argument either way for their conference record. The Spurs are on 13 losses. LA is 13-14. Again, 13 games in NBA today. What looked encouraging for the Spurs is this right here. AT&T Center equals 56. So does San Antonio, Texas. If the Spurs won, they would be 5-6 at home. So, to me, this game's pretty dangerous. I'd personally leave it alone. But Spurs at the same time would be a nice upset. So if you're mixing up a bunch of small bets and trying to, if you put together, maybe your strategy each night is you put together $5 parlays, where if one of them hits, it's worth 50, and you try to hit on as many as possible. I mean, that's another thing you can do with this knowledge, mixing up the games and the potential upsets. Because, again, it's all mathematics. If you spend $25 on 5 different parlays at $5 and you structure each of them so that if it hits, it's $50, I mean, that's not a bad way to do things. And to one man, $5 might be $50. So, I mean, you guys know what your bank flow is, but with a day like today where there's a lot of questionable games, that'd be my strategy on a day like today. All right, the Mavs and Suns, I wouldn't mess with this game either. The Mavericks win, they're 7-3 in the conference. Suns is 73, could be that. But we see the Mavericks play Los Angeles next. If they lose, they're 5-3 away. Los Angeles is 53. We see after that they play at New Orleans. New Orleans 54. They could lose their next 2 away games to go into New Orleans 5-4. And if the Suns win today, they would be 6-6 at home. They do host the Wolves next. Wolves is 66. So the home and away records say Suns, but because the Mavericks have the conference record, I mean, it could be that. It's just like the Nets today. All the Nets had going for them was their conference record, and they won. They had like four things going against them, and they still won. So the one thing the Nets had was the conference record. And honestly, it's usually the home and away records that beat the conference record. That's why I'm annoyed about that game a little bit this morning, but. And one other thing, if the Suns did win today, they would be 9-9. Friday does equal 99. And actually, I'm thinking about one more thing with that. Dallas equals 13. When you write out 13, it equals 99. 13 games in the NBA today. So, I worry about this right here. If this wasn't here, I'd take the Suns. And Mavericks have also looked like the better team lately. And it does look like Dallas will lose the next game. So if Dallas loses this, they very likely will become 11-8 in Los Angeles. And then the Bulls and Blazers game, again, the overlap number is 37. Chicago's 37. Portland's 37. The game's in Portland. Bulls can fall to 3-7 away. They play at Sacramento next. Sacramento's also 37. And that's the most pure cipher for all 3 cities. Portland, Chicago, Sacramento, all 37. Most pure cipher. 37's the 12th prime. Blazers can stay on 12 losses. Bulls is 12. And Blazers win their next 2 games. They'll be 4-4 at home. Portland's 44. If Blazers win today, they're 3-5 versus the East. Chicago's 35. And Blazers is 43, the 14th prime. Bulls can pick up that 14th loss. I guess the devil's advocate narrative would be if every single 13 thing played today, the Blazers would pick up their 13th loss and the Bulls would stay on 13. I'd be shocked if every single 13 came through today. But, yeah, this is just too good. 3-5 versus the East, the 37 overlap, staying on 12. And also the Blazers do play at LA next, and it looks like the Blazers will lose that game, so that would be a good city to get that 13th loss in. I'll make the note, though. 13 games in NBA today. Upset narrative would be Chicago staying on 13 losses and Blazers picking up 13th loss. But I still really like this a whole lot right here. I mean, those are great indicators. And then the Lakers make the Wizards 3-7 away. Los Angeles 37, Wizards 37. And Lakers improved to 9-1 at home, 91 the 13th triangular number. LA 13, they host Dallas next. If they beat the Mavericks next, they'll be 10-1 at home, Mavericks 101. So all these notes are posted. Again, it's the I posted it last night, the college football with the hockey with the basketball. And we can wrap it up there. Game's starting in about 48 minutes. I got to start working on the Saturday college football games to get those notes finished. Let me check in with the chat real quick. Cleveland, OH 101. Nice, Victor, for another 101. Midnight Decipher says he thinks Milwaukee and Lakers look synced. I wonder if he's saying that because they both hit the 6-1s in the home away records. The Bucks did it with one of them. That's that finals number. Salim B likes the Bucks tonight, the Pacers, the Lakers, and Miami. You think that some of those games look safer than the Portland game, Salim? To each their own. But, yeah, tonight's a good night to mix it up. So, I don't know. I like the Blazers tonight. The whole reason I like the Bulls to lose to the Warriors in the last game was to set up this exact riddle with Portland. I love overlap numbers. So, the 13 thing, in case all the 13s play today, that's the only thing I could see going wrong. Okay, let me scroll up and just see if there was any other notes. Let's see. That's something else to think about. Somebody made a point about the number 10 today. It is the 29th of the month, the 10th prime. So the Nets, the 10 could have gone either way. The Magic could stay on 10 losses. Let me add that. Here, I want to go back and just check all those 29s. 29th of month, 10th prime. Magic can stay on 10 losses. Okay. What else has a 10? No 10 there. No 10 there. No 10. No 10. Let's see. No 10 there. Suns could pick up the 10th loss today. All right, hold on. 29th a month. Suns can pick up 10th loss. Wizards could stay on 10 losses. I don't think so, though. All right, I'll just make the note, though. Okay. All right, you guys, we'll leave it there. I'm going to start working on college football. Again, they're posted yesterday. I posted it so you could do the morning games today. And all the Saturday games, I'll be working on finishing up the notes. Again, it's week 14. I'd really be looking for those 14 riddles. That's what I'll be doing while I'm decoding. So we'll leave it there. Until next time.